The next item is item number 10, application for certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Brooklyn, docket number 15-5058, block 234, lot 68, 146 Willow Street in the Brooklyn Heights Historic District, a neo-Gothic-style row house built before 1900 and altered prior to 1940. This is an application to install a stoop, new entry door and surround, replace windows, alter the rear facade, and construct a rooftop addition.
Thanks.
That's what they are.
Neil?
Yeah, we're trying to. Thank you.
Oh, the lychees?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hillary Paget, Preservation Department staff. This property is located on the west side of Willow Street, between Pierpont Street and Clark Street. The 1940s photograph here shows the building within the row, and note that the stoop was removed and a ground floor entrance and enfranement was installed at that point. The current photograph shows the building after additional changes were made to the facade prior to designation. Photos taken from Columbia Heights show that the rear of the building is currently visible through a gap between buildings. As you can see, we've got here and a bit of it here. So this is the rear of that building. The applicant is proposing to remove the ground floor entry and surround and reconstruct a stoop, areaway, parlor floor entry, railings, front facade ground details, and cornice, all based on historic photographs, and install high energy efficient windows with fixed upper sashes and tilt and turn lower sashes. Proposed alterations of the rear facade include altering partially visible openings and installing doors and guardrails. So that's this level here and there. Enlarging an existing chimney here and extending an existing cornice at the rear addition. The applicants also propose enlarging the existing rooftop stairwell head, which will be visible from the rear of the property. And the architect is here to present the application.
So, Michael Langley from Tax Safety Architects. Good afternoon. If you don't mind, I'll use the CD1 quickly because I think it shows the bulk. I like using it that way. It shows the new stoop that we're adding, and it shows the enlarged bulkhead. There is a stair bulkhead already if you look at the demo page, which I think are in the back of your package. So there's a stair bulkhead that is currently here. We are enlarging it to allow for an elevator bulkhead. Existing facade. So the visibility of that bulkhead is kind of diagonally through here. You really can't see it very easily. In fact, even in the wintertime, we had to draw this on because we just couldn't notice the mock-up as well. But you can see that. It's easier. There's an existing rail, already a roof deck up there. So the rail obscures it. The existing bulkhead comes to about here. You can see the upper part is where the elevator bulkhead is, and it's also enlarged for a landing outside the elevator. So, the front facade is based on historic photos of the house next door. On designation much earlier, all the houses had everything removed. The facade, if you were to go there today, is not in great shape. The surround is not in great shape. It wasn't done very well at the beginning. The windows are not historic. There's not a lot to keep on it. So we try pretty hard. We'll continue to work with preservation and the person who does our ground stormwater to kind of refine the details, but we think we've gotten it pretty close. Just to go into the windows, these are Zola windows. I've been in front of you already a few times with Zola windows. So they're passive house windows. We've selected Zola because, as far as I know, they're the only ones who have a narrow meeting room, distribution 3/4 to match Marvin and a lot of others that you guys typically would approve with us. They're painted on the outside black, as well as all the other woodwork. This is an existing rear facade. You can see the existing stair bulkhead, the existing rear rail. You can also see the existing window at this location, existing windows here. This is the proposed rear elevation. New railing and enlarged bulkhead for the landing. You can see the side elevation of that. You can also see that we've turned this window into a door. We've got a rail. We've actually held that back. We haven't brought it all the way back to the end of the addition. We've held it back so that we wouldn't have to have a rail that goes across. All the windows front and back are 2/2, which we think is historically accurate at the front. This window has been brought down to doors and a door at the lower level as well as a larger opening on the side, which isn't really visible. Otherwise, the brick is going to be stripped, restored, repointed. Just some additional details on the stoop, showing the front areaway, some planting, bluestone paving at the base. There's a very large open stairwell here. We're going to turn it into a stair hatch.
What's the material of the stoop?
It'll be brownstone.
Brownstone or cast stone?
It'll be a tinted cement plastic brownstone. It won't be cast.
What's the difference between brownstone?
Yes. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah. Cast iron rails. We've already looked at a number of rails that come very close to the historic photos. We work with them, the vendor who can help us with everything else. Not quite oriented, right? But this is just a little bit more detail on that point. But again, we'll continue with the presentation. This is cornice from architectural fiberglass. Who's come very close to the photos on the historic photos. They are showing the seams. I think we've done a number of these with you already. With the way, once we deal with the seams, they're very, very difficult to see. And this is very high up. This is higher than some of the others that we've gotten over. This shows the visibility. You can really only see the top portion of that bulkhead. It's a passive house. I think we're missing the HVAC units. There will be two. They'll be here. They're just two HVAC units, and they're the size of a large suitcase. They won't be visible. And then I think the rest are just details.
And the material of the enfrainment around the door?
I'm sorry. The new front door will be wood. It'll all
Wood
be
and the enfrainment, all of that decorative wood?
Yes. I have details that kind of show it, but
Basically,
basically,
it's going to be wood.
this will all be.
Pediment above the door. A sideways image.
Oh, yeah, it'll be separate. This will be tinted cement plaster.
Sorry, say that again? What
This
sits
will all be
there?
tinted cement plaster.
Including the pediment over the door?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about the sideway.
And the modillions? What will those modillions be?
Again, well, these will start with the casting, but then they'll tinted cement plaster finish it. We've right now, I think through up to 88th Street as well as 71st Street are working on two houses. With one was with Berta and the other one was another, where the level of accuracy is incredibly high in terms of what they're able to recreate.
Are there other questions? Excuse me, are there other questions? Any other questions? All right, we'll move to public hearing and take public testimony. The community board has recommended that we approve the application. The principal stated objection was to the elevator bulkhead. Yes.
The elevator goes to the roof and
Yes.
it opens up on the
All right, we'll take public testimony. Judy Stanton?
Judy Stanton from the Brooklyn Heights Association. Our Landmarks Preservation Committee has reviewed this application, and we are very impressed with the majority of the proposed renovations, as well as the thoughtfulness and quality of design. We are particularly pleased to see that this substantial house is to have its facades completely restored based upon historic photographic records. All windows are to be replaced, and the long missing brownstone stoop and street-level railings are to be reconstructed. A fully redesigned areaway and the installation of new bluestone flags at the public sidewalk are further improvements that we fully support. The house, in its existing condition and as originally built, exceeds the district's 50-foot height limit by just over 10 feet. Improvements at the roof that will not be visible to public view include a new deck and all new mechanical equipment. There will also be an appropriately designed rear railing. However, the project will include a reconstructed and enlarged stair bulkhead combined with an elevator penthouse. The proposed penthouse required for the new elevator will add 9 more feet to the overall height of the building. Although this new construction will not be visible from Willow Street, it will be very visible from across the gardens of Columbia Heights to the west. While our committee is in favor of much of this application due to the significant visibility and our commitment to not support further intrusions above the established height limits in the district, we regretfully cannot support the elevator penthouse portion of the application. It is our suggestion that the elevator not travel beyond the top floor of the house, thereby reducing the height and bulk of the new roof penthouse structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Zay?
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. HDC commends the applicant on a very sensitive restoration of this row house to its original appearance. Our committee approves of the changes to the rear facade and the reasonable size and setback of the rooftop addition, and appreciates the quality of the materials chosen for the project, including brownstone cladding and wood entrance door and replacement windows. Given the attention to detail and quality, HDC's only suggestion is that the applicant consider the use of a wood cornice, as fiberglass cornices often achieve a flatter, less authentic look. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? All right. Can the applicant come up for a moment? Just on the bulkhead, is there ways to reduce the height that you have right now?
So we met with BHA, and at the time we actually go back to the CD one. When we met with the BHA, well, a couple of things. One is there is already a bulkhead, and this is increasing the height of the bulkhead by 3 feet. There is already a bulkhead that comes up by 7.5.
3.
Yeah, so there's about there's a 7.5 foot stair bulkhead already. The stair comes up and then returns out. So it's about 6 feet of width that is visible. The other is when we met with them, this entire top portion of the exit way was the landing was at the same height as the elevator bulkhead and overrun, and it was at 12 feet. So we're going with the 7-foot cap, which is the lowest cap we can go with, which will reduce it by a foot. But we also modified the design to bring the rest of the landing area down so that we have an 8-foot interior ceiling, a 6-inch joist. So we try to minimize as much as possible. You can still see it though. But we did what we could after that to kind of work with it as much as we could.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, we'll move to discussion. I think overall this is a very positive proposal. I think in terms of the primary facade, the changes that they're making, I think really reinforces the district and its elements. And I would say that even the bulkhead, while recognizing it may be visible, seems to be treated sensitively in terms of its design. Other comments or questions? Yes.
Since it's my
Yes.
historic district,
Right.
and I used to live at 126 Willow, now live right around the corner. I know the building very well. I can remember about 25 years ago when a homeowner on Monroe Place came to add a stoop to the house where it had been removed. This was a cause for, neighborhood-wide celebration. Now we see it done much more frequently, but it still should be cause for neighborhood celebrations anywhere it's done. It's an extraordinarily positive gesture, I think, to the public way and to restore the historic character to these houses, which have so often had stoops removed. I think it's just an incredible overall restoration of the facade of the house. I well understand that Brooklyn Heights' position about maintaining the law, the limited height, 50-foot height limit. The fact is this building is higher than that. And to allow a tiny bit addition to get up and use the roof, to me, and it's still not visible from the street, is perfectly acceptable to my way of thinking. So all in all, I think this is a wonderful presentation and application.
So it is not visible from the street.
It's not visible from the primary facade, which is on Willow Street. It's not visible. All right, any other comments? Yes.
I guess because of the quality of the approach to this, and this really is an admirable project, I think two recommendations I would have. One, that the elements for the door surround also be made of cast stone. The detail is going to be better than working stucco. And two, I'm at a loss to understand why a plastic cornice would be installed on this building rather than sheet metal, which can be purchased stock also with an enormous amount of detail. And it's going to have much better longevity. The facade of this building is facing south, so if there's any paint loss on that cornice, the plastic is going to start to degrade under ultraviolet light. So I would recommend the use of sheet metal. I mean, going back to wood would be crazy at this point, but sheet metal.
Okay. And everybody's comfortable with that change? Excellent. If there are no other issues, then we can... I'm sorry? Yes. Yes, we're ready to close the hearing, yes. All in favor? Great, so, Michael, do you want to read the resolution and include the modifications you suggested?
Going for the sheet metal? Okay.
That's good.
In the matter of 146 Willow Street in the Brooklyn Heights Historic District, an application to install a stoop, new entry door and surround, replace windows, alter the rear facade, and construct a rooftop addition, I recommend approval, finding that the other features that were historically installed with the existing basement entrance and frament, including a decorative window lintel with the parlor floor window and replace the original door and decorative areaway walls, have been stripped and stuccoed over, and the door and frament no longer reads as part of the design ensemble. Therefore, its removal will not diminish a later significant alteration and will support the full restoration of the facade, including a new brownstone stucco parlor floor entrance and frament, or cast stone, and stoop and cast iron railings. That the restoration of the stoop and parlor floor entrance in conjunction with additional work, including installing paired wood entrance doors with glass lights and panels, decorative brownstone stucco window enframents, and a rusticated base, and a cast stamped sheet metal cornice, will approximate the historic materials, details, and finishes, thereby returning the building closer to its historic appearance. That the proposed sash and frame of high-energy performance windows will closely match the historic windows in terms of configuration, details, profiles, and dimensions. That the fixed upper sash will be in a different plane from the lower sash, replicating the appearance of the historic window sash. That the change in operation of the lower sash will only be perceptible when the sash is open. That the proposed stair and elevator bulkhead will replace an existing bulkhead and will only be visible from the rear of the building through a gap between buildings. That the simple massing, finishes, and details of the new bulkhead will not draw undue attention to themselves or call attention away from the visible portions of the rear facade. That alterations to the rear facade, including enlarging window openings and installing doors leading to a new terrace and balcony, which will be minimally visible but largely imperceptible, will not detract from the character of the building or row. That the enlarged chimney and extended cornice at the visible historic rear extension will be in keeping with the character of the building, and the proposed work will be supportive of the architectural and historic character of the building and the Brooklyn Heights Historic District.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.